Alrighty, hello every folks. So weird little kind of side tangent kind of deal today. So recently, I wasn't really planning to make a series on it or whatever, but was recently going through Metal Gear Acid 2, and I was curious whether the entire thing could be completed using only the starter deck. So basically, to be completely blunt, most of the game uses very similar mechanics, but there's exactly one fight in pretty much the middle of the game that's kind of the one big exception that I was really considering was going to be the big thing as far as determining whether or not this could actually be completed. And you might say, wait a minute, this is a Metal Gear. This is the last boss, isn't it? No, so Metal Gear Acid 2 kind of goes out of its way to kind of apologize for some of the dumb crap in MG Acid 1. So, for example, instead of, somebody shoots a machine gun, they're like, bang, 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 hit, 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 and they're just like, and then they, get hit a whole bunch, and it's like, okay, it's faster. This is the big apology, though. This is what I like to call a Pepsi gear. The thing is basically like a giant walking friggin' can thing, but it's essentially a 3-part boss that absolutely just, it blew. This thing is just the worst. Anyway, so this was the last boss of the first game. It's literally just a throwaway, you come here because it's convenient kind of situation for this one. But the big question that I had is whether this guy would be completable with the starting deck. Now, for anyone unfamiliar with the mechanics of this game, here's generally how it comes down. You see those squares on the top right? I have them right here. So you have 2 to start off with, then you upgrade your tech level with cards in your deck, which brings it up to 4, and then brings it up to 9. You'll have 2 characters, and basically these characters can just do all kinds of different stuff depending on what cards you have with them. So your 2 protagonists here start off with some kind of interesting, very personality-defining decks here. So you got Venus here, who's basically your gun nut, more or less. You got Snake, that's your sneaky rogue sword. So his whole thing is he starts off with like concussion grenades and a tranquilizer pistol and a knife and all kinds of traps and things. So he's basically doing the standard Metal Gear thing. She, on the other hand, is basically Rambo. Now, pretty much the only actual like non-lethal, or the only actual lethal damage that Snake has with him throughout this starting deck here is going to be his knife. So this is actually basically if you've played Metal Gear 3, it's literally the exact same animation and everything. It's pretty awesome. But yeah, the knife, definitely a really good weapon. You've got the airstrike here, which just basically airstrikes an entire area, and then you have his claymores. So to explain how the numbers of this break down, each card you use, you see that cost on the top right? That's essentially your cost for taking that action or using that card in any way. So if I were to use this to move, you can see over her thing, it puts her cost up to 7. If you play Tactics Ogre, this is basically recovery time, but you know exactly what your numbers are going to be ahead of time. Now, when it comes to the different kinds of cards, you notice all these gun cards. Some of them you equip. You put them into a slot, and that's just kind of where they go. Then you use a second one to essentially fire it. So like right here, it says that this uses 5.56 for its ammo, and you get 6 of them. So if you equipped anything that used that ammo type, you would essentially be able to use that as ammunition. Which basically means that you usually want to just get your best gun, equip it up there, and, spam it as you will. Now, looking at this thing, you may notice there's 2 bars on the top and bottom. And actually, do you have any other ones? Yeah, like this one doesn't have any. But these are what's known as interference. Basically, red will boost the damage of something while reducing defense. Purple will reduce damage while increasing defense, I think. And then green increases accuracy and chance to trigger. I promise I'll be done with the mechanical explanation in just a moment here. But like, for example, you see right here, it says reaction, or REA 50% on the bottom. Basically what this means is, yeah, if you get attacked and you have this equipped, there's a 50% chance that they will just whip out the gun and start blasting. So all of these are going to function in different ways, but I'm just going to go ahead and discard a couple things here, because she's got a few napalm grenades that can't even be used in this fight. So, as far as the cards that they come with and why this challenge would be an issue, Snake can't even hurt this boss. Like, if you're thinking, hey, airstrike it, you know, you're going to get under this thing, you can't get directly under it. The airstrike will only... Hell, even... Like, I've even done this thing where if you get a character knocked out, you have the boss walk on top of them, then you can technically clip inside their hitbox. You're still going to wind up with a situation where the airstrike is just going to completely miss. I mean, ignoring the fact that they're indoors and how an airstrike would even work here is... It's a whole question, but anyway. So what you wind up mechanically with this fight, why it's an issue, you may notice there's a counter on the bottom right, because it's not like this boss is super threatening or anything else. It is literally just time-consuming and annoying, which is why for this one they decided the building is collapsing. You have 300 points, basically 300 of time here to complete this fight. You have to take your characters, one of which takes a while to get going, and another of which literally can't even hurt the boss. You have to use them to deal 2,000 damage to this thing. Now, you might have looked at those numbers and thought, hey, that assault rifle does 10 damage. How is that gonna work? And yeah, that's the problem, ain't it? So this was the one that, like, it became clear that other shenanigans aside, like most of the other fights, okay, you know, you got your flamethrower guy, or you've got your, you know, just let this play out real quick. You may notice it always does a percentage sign. It's kind of funny. So, you know, you got your other bosses and things like that. You can at least hit them with the knife. You can, you know, you might be able to hit them with bleed or burn or whatever else. There's a whole bunch of debuffs that you could potentially inflict with all this stuff, or you might put down some traps. Or, for example, she's got a card that lets her kick and destroy equipment, right? So, for example, like one of them can't get knocked down, but you could go have her kick the guy, which destroys the card that prevents him from being knocked down, which means he can suddenly get knocked down, which means he can get knocked out of cards, which means he can get knocked off a cliff. Like, there's all kinds of crazy stuff you can do like that. But it just sort of came down to, how do you kill this thing on a time limit with basically very little damage? And I actually found a way. Now, I will say this is not super, you know, consistent or anything, but I just wanted to kind of show this off for anyone that might be interested in trying this kind of challenge, because it is a time-consuming one, but it is a very fun challenge to try out, and this was kind of the one thing that's in the way. So, right off the bat, what we want to set up is a case where we need extra damage, we need extra accuracy on Venus. So her whole thing is that her best damage comes from two different places. One of which is going to be the M4, so we got that one right away. And the second thing is going to be the USP. So the USP, notice on that top right, we have two bars. The actual bar that increases damage is facing down, meaning that we need to increase her tech level to be able to actually pull this off. The way that the math works out is that she will then have 6 to 8 shots at 70% accuracy. That is alright, but it's not going to be doing damage fast enough. I have had more than one occasion where I've gotten this thing down to 10 health and failed. So that part is a little bit annoying. So we need to boost her accuracy. Conveniently, Mr. Snake Guy here has a trap that allows you to boost accuracy by 10. Thing is, it has to specifically be laid down in a particular, like, specific area. So what we're trying to set up, first of all, we need to get her USP, M4, and Tech Level 2 going as soon as possible. The damage from these missiles and things doesn't even matter. Each of them needs to have one ration left over in their inventory. So, like, for example, if I were to show why damage-wise this wouldn't work, yeah, 5 damage. This crap is not going to work in time here. But point being, they need to move as little as possible. They need to be able to throw out damage as often as possible. And at the same time, they need to keep all their guns loaded as much as possible. And so this is kind of a funny situation, because this guy's missiles will spam all over the place. Like, I shouldn't have put the trap there. This one's probably already scuffed. But what you want to do is you take an accuracy trap and you set it relatively far away from Pepsi Gear over here, which I probably should call him Fanta Gear, but whatever. Makes me think of Pepsi every time. Anyway, so you set him up relatively far away, because he's going to spam... His first phase, he's just going to spam missiles right in front of him. The second one, you can't actually avoid getting your traps destroyed, but whatever. And by the way, I have tested... No, not a single card that Snake has does any damage to this thing under any circumstances. even, like, for example, combining accuracy bonuses with flanking bonuses, combined with, you know, attacking the thing from really weird angles or whatever else. Literally, he cannot hurt this thing in any way, shape, or form. I know because I've been routing this out for a dang week. Alright, so the best setup that you could potentially have is USB M4 and Tech 2 right off the bat. But you're gonna eventually end up losing time anyway, so what you want to do is just keep discarding cards until you get the ones that you need. If you don't get the Tech 2 or any kind of damage dealing relatively quick, like for example if you get Makarov, you can put that in the top left slot, and that'll end up making your machine gun usable. But if within 3 or 4 rounds you don't have anything that'll do any damage at all, you might as well just drop it right there. You're not going to have enough time to kill it. So, we're going to give it one more round, and if nothing happened yet, then we're just going to go ahead and reset. So, give it one more round, discard, discard, which will always give you 3. Yeah, we're just going to go ahead and reset this right here. So, the reason we're doing this is because you need to have him on Phase 2 by the time you get to about 160 on your time. You need to be able to deal the full 1,000 damage to both plates, which you might be thinking, wait a minute, flanking damage, even if it ends up doubling it or whatever else, you're still seeing, I mean, you're still basically getting kind of low damage here. Yeah, don't worry, there's a way to get around that. You can potentially deal over 100 damage per attack here, but you just gotta kind of get it done right. So this is a pretty okay starting hand. Generally, it's good to keep that Olga card on hand. It's basically a 3-card draw that you can use one of your moves for. It's perfect for her because she gets 3 movements, Snake gets 2, but he can temporarily boost his movements up to 3 if you feel like burning through all your cards. Like, her main downside is actually her movement speed, because you end up burning through cards too quick. But anyway, so we see that she's going to get hit. That's not a terrible issue. In fact, her getting hit is sometimes useful, because if you don't have any... it'll end up destroying the card on the left of your deck, or on the left of your hand, rather. If you don't have anything that you particularly need to use, it just basically means you spend less time discarding cards, so you potentially can just skip a turn instead, which saves you a little bit of time. In this case, yeah, we're just going to keep discarding cards here. I specifically need that trap from him. Once we get the trap, then I can have him go do his next job, which is going to be to distract this stupid thing. So we're going to use the card now. I don't have the full space for all the draws, but I was really hoping to maybe get that card. But what you want to do is you want to keep 1 ration on hand. She's got 2 in her deck, so if you have 2, discard 1 of them. You want to keep 1 on hand for Phase 2, because she has to be able to survive 2 friggin' Hyper Beams to the face. Those do 300 damage each. She's got 600 health, or yeah, I think she's got 600 at this point. So, yeah, they do a pretty hefty amount of damage. She needs to survive 3 attack rounds, basically. She needs to kill it on the 3rd one, doing 300 plus damage per round. As to how that's possible, we'll get to it, but again, we're getting kind of bad draws here. I need either the Makarov or... yeah, that'll do. You need either Makarov or Tech 2 and a USP to make it work. Now, he has not dropped any traps yet. We're going to let them both get hit. If you see their card counters over there, you see they'll each end up losing 1. If you're hit by multiple explosions by this attack in particular, it'll only count for 1 of them, so there's not really too much of a need to worry there. Alright, so he still has not gotten the trap. That's unfortunate. We're going to throw away anything that's not a movement card for him, because he's going to have to move a ton. The way that we're going to make enough damage happen for this particular fight is we're going to combine having that accuracy trap along with having damage bonus interference from the equipment grid, and then combine that with flanking damage by having him run around in circles around this stupid thing until she's essentially getting flank damage from those different shots. Now, this isn't really ideal, but it's still damage. As soon as you can start doing legit damage, you just start doing it. So, there we go. It's not great that she's firing at 70%, but screw it, it's something. And you might say, wait a minute, save those cards until there's, more potential damage to come? No, you are very limited on time. You might as well just roll the dice. I'm having him equip these dodge cards just for the sake of having them out of the way. It's just, it's slightly less button presses than going and using them for movement. It really doesn't make too much of a difference. His time isn't really as much of a premium. You just want to be trying to get those traps out for him as much as possible. He can take one extra beam to the face later for phase 2, but for the soda can phase right here, you just need to do 500 damage to each wing, and as long as he can start doing some kind of side damage, or as long as he can start spinning this stupid thing around, you can start getting some more stuff done. Yeah, everything about this design pisses me off, I'll be honest. This thing is just the worst. It's like, it's stupid looking, it's mechanically annoying. Okay, its Acid 1 version is the worst. Like, I've legitimately not seen a more annoying boss in a very long time. The Acid 1 version, like, you see how it's popping out all those missiles at one time? Now, imagine instead, if every time that it did one of those missile things, it was like, pop, 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 fire, 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 boom, 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 and then that's its only attack for like an hour. It is so dumb. Now, one mechanically interesting thing about this particular map is that weapons don't have a range. So, like, normally right here, this pistol would probably be out of range, the rifle would be experiencing extreme drop-off, but it's a huge target, so you actually don't have weapon range considerations for this one. So we're going to keep loading stuff into the Makarov and the rifle. It's at least damage. Once you get the USP going, it ups it to 25 damage per shot, but 15 is decent enough. Like, pistols don't require as much maintenance. The rifles basically require all of their bonuses to not be absolute trash. That's why all of their base damage is so dang low. Because you can stack all this different stuff on them, and they can start being absolutely ridiculous, but yeah, like, I think once everything is all said and done, if you're doing flank damage, plus you're getting damage interference, plus everything else, you can set this up in such a way that, that you're doing, like, 18 times 8 with the M4, I think? Something like that. But yeah, it takes some doing. Anyway, so the trap is about to get destroyed, so I think we're just going to go ahead and commit to running him forward. At this point, we've spent too much time on getting set up going, so we're just going to go around. As you can see, you can't exactly get under this thing most of the time. If you let yourself get knocked out and you wake up while underneath it, then you can't exit that area, which is kind of an interesting situation to find yourself in. Other little quirks of her deck here, by the way. Using the turn -4 basically allows you to instantly get another turn in a lot of cases, meaning in this case I was basically re-rolling to get a chance to still make use of this accuracy tile. But, oh well. We're gonna just accept getting a hit here. Discarding 2 cards and getting hit is faster than trying to use 3 of them up to get those reloads going. You only get 2 reloaded per turn anyway, so, you know, sometimes you want to keep a hold of one, so getting your cards destroyed isn't necessarily a bad thing. The pistol will always be at 90% accuracy, unless boosted to 100% with the tile, so it's honestly fine as it is. So we're just going to go ahead and heal, and keep firing at it. Like, I'm 99% certain this particular one is completely scuffed, but oh well. If you keep her far away when you have the accuracy tile set up, in some cases, you can make sure, under extremely ideal circumstances, you can set up a situation where it will only ever focus on Snake, it'll never even attack Venus, she can keep her accuracy tile all the way up to phase 2, and you can just keep spam firing the flank shots all day long. Additionally, for whatever reason, this thing is actually programmed to not actually have the ability to step on you. I don't know why, because the other one can. And but anyway, whether through programming oversight or what, he can't step on you. So, like I said earlier, if you end up underneath him in some way, or if you end up in a position where you can just attack him from underneath, you could potentially get some interesting scenarios going. But either way, it's a very weird boss fight, for sure. As you can tell, you're not really doing too much damage, and considering our timing here is to get it to 160, or get this thing down by 160, it's looking pretty unlikely right now. Yeah, it's a bit unfortunate. But the thing is, once you get everything rolling, you can potentially get this one consistent if you get a decent draw at the very beginning. Like, if you get those 3 cards that I was talking about, you can make up for almost anything else. Like, yesterday, I felt really, really dumb because I literally got that exact draw, was feeling absolutely amazing about it, and then completely ruined it because I kind of accidentally used her her one ration for movement instead of you know, using it for not dying, and then she got knocked out in the second round, and then there wasn't enough time by the time she woke back up, so rip that attempt. But this is definitely doable. I feel like the entire game is doable this way. It's just a very, very strange kind of setup here. Because again, like equipment-wise, going through everything Snake has, stun grenades can't even touch this thing. It doesn't even get a chance to roll. There's no way that unless you go and you allow upgrades for your run, the most he could potentially ever do is like 10 damage with this thing if you allow upgrades. Because it fires once at 0 damage. So, like, there's no world in which this thing actually hurts without upgrades. I was not allowing upgrades for this particular one. It is funny that you can attempt this, but yeah, obviously it resists a Tranquilizer Dart, because of course the giant mech is going to resist a Tranquilizer Dart. Anyway. Let's go ahead and move here. Let's kind of accept how scuffed this particular attempt is. Yeah, sometimes you just get stuff like that where just half your shots miss. Let's give it one more reset, and then we'll see if we can make this happen. The funny part is that this is a very easy mission normally. Like in a normal scenario, you probably have multiple rocket launchers by this point. Literally just one shot from one of those would be enough to... if I added one of those cards to either of their decks right now, this would be completely trivial. But, you know, kind of out of the spirit of the challenge, as it were. There we go. And if you're wondering, no, there's absolutely no scenario in which he can actually dodge using any one of his cards. It doesn't check for armor, it doesn't check for dodge. All of this thing's attacks are just explosions, so they don't really, there's not really any way to defend against them. In fact, once you get to Phase 2, there's literally not a tile in the entire map that can avoid being hit by the dang thing. So another alternate scenario that's pretty useful here is USP. Which is odd, because for some reason it won't let me fire it right now. What's that about? Huh. I guess he has to actually open up his missile pods for me to fire. I've actually never seen him start with the charge. What's that about? So yeah, once they open up their missile pods, that's when you can start doing damage. These are the dumbest looking missiles I've ever seen, by the way. I'm not sure why anybody would ever make something like this, aside from doing this weird tornado spin move that they like to do. So yeah, if you have nothing else, like if you don't have an M4 yet, this will do the job just fine. It's just that, yeah, you will eventually have to replace it, so you're technically wasting a card in the long run. We don't need this ration just yet, so I'm going to move her just out of range and hope that maybe, just maybe, he gets his trap card, we move back, drop a trap card. You just basically don't want to spend so much time that you end up dragging him over to this side of the map. Because at that point he's just in the middle, and then you can't actually do that trick with the accuracy trap. I have had cases where there's just really good rolls, and there really was nothing to worry about for the accuracy trap. But again, you don't really want to rely on something like that. Okay, please stop rolling 50 billion medkits. I mean, each of them has 30 cards, so it's not like it's about, give or take, 20% odds of her pulling a weapon. I think she's got like 3 or 4 M4s, 3 or 4 OICWs, and then I think like 2 Makarovs and 3 USPs or something. But either way, he's got 2 of these accuracy traps, and that's really the only one that matters. Wow, these are some incredibly bad rolls, though. I mean, that'll work. That's damage. Like, this is, technically speaking, once you get the USP rolling, that is the best damage you can do. But still, you eventually want to have a machine gun going. It's just kind of a shame that that it relies on having this janky setup. So that's why, like, Makarov and M4 is usually a bit better. Technically speaking, you probably could do this just pistols. Like, they're gonna be doing more damage. But still. Still, great game, though. I really, really like this system. Every time I play it, I keep wondering why they never made another one. This is mechanically really cool. Not to mention, it's just so dang... I don't know. Everything about the presentation is amazing. Actually, there's kind of an argument to be made here that, yeah, going pistol only is the ideal way. Because unless you save rifles for your very last shot or something. Because they're literally about a third of the of your actual cost to use. Oh my goodness. Give me something! Alright, so at this point we'll go ahead and replace this thing with the rifle. And then we'll get that back later. And yes, it does less damage, you just have way more shots with it. Or you have way more potential opportunities to use it, rather. And as I recall, there's not really any other timed situations throughout the rest of the game. There is a second Metal Gear fight, but it's a lot more interesting than this stupid thing. Again, it's literally just here as a, here's an easy boss, we're sorry for how dumb this thing was in the last game. I mean, this entire section, this entire Metal Gear prototype factory, it feels like it was intentionally made as a joke towards MG Acid 1. Because pretty much all of it is all of the experimental stuff that didn't quite pan out like they probably intended it to in the original. Like all of your weird Nikita missile traps and all of your weird tile traps and just strange locations and things like that. But, anyway. Alright, now we've got a second trap. This is kind of good, because you can't destroy it. Well, you can't usually destroy a trap that's just kind of sitting in your inventory there, so I'm going to move him slightly. He's going to destroy that other trap. We're going to put one down, kind of go from there. I think you can kind of see what we're going for here. I was really hoping to at least show Phase 2, just to show that you can get there, but apparently it just does not feel like rolling nice today. You know, these things happen. It is, unfortunately, very RNG dependent for this particular fight. All the rest of them, like, all the rest of the maps in this entire run so far have been incredibly fun, just interesting challenges of, like, there's 4 guys patrolling over here, so you toss a couple stun grenades, knock 2 of them out at the same time, and you get this other one on fire over here, and then cause him to panic and run to an oil slick and knock himself out, and kick this other guy off a cliff. Like, it's so dang cool to be stuck to these kinds of limitations for this kind of game, but... man, this particular boss is the pits. I hate this thing. Just friggin' Fanta mech is the worst. I hate this thing. I don't think it ever even gets a proper name. It's just like Metal Gear doofus, basically. Alright, let's at least get to Phase 2. Alright, we'll go 2... yeah, we'll go 2 tiles closer because I still want her to get hit. Yeah, when the actual secret is letting yourself get hit by missiles. Actually, one thing that I find incredibly funny about this game is that they devoted additional hardware to jiggle physics. So she's got jiggle physics in obvious places, but it cracks me up that anybody that's carrying a backpack also has jiggle physics on their backpack. Like, I don't know if you can tell here, because I think they tone it down a bit for this particular fight, but normally his backpack's bouncing up and down. Yeah, it's kind of hilarious. Anyway. Yeah, is it toned down for this fight? Yeah, you know, I think they actually turned off jiggle physics for this fight. Unless you have your PSP overclocked, you do actually get some lag on this one. On Vita or emulator, you don't, though. And if you overclock your Vita even slightly, it's just fine. Like, it's one of those things where it's just barely off from being able to do it normally. But this boss is so dumb. In fact, I think the only thing they didn't recycle for this particular area, which... again, funny because they destroyed the entire map. That they didn't repeat from the first one was the kind of like clown room fight, which it probably would have been way cooler in this one. Though I guess it's kind of just worked into general gameplay, so it wouldn't really count. For folks that didn't play the first one, basically what this means is there was this one area where it's just like a giant, well, just play area, more or less, with a bunch of weird traps laid out all over the place, and it was supposed to be like, you never know what you're stepping on, and there's all these crazy things going on. The actual end result of that fight, since, you know, Acid 1 was very experimental, the ultimate result of that one was mostly it's just a sniping battle, because, I mean, you can shoot from really far away. Why would you bother going into those traps when you can just shoot the boss from really far away? But, yeah. Not to mention the fact that they started you off with the FAMAS, which is one of the best rifles in the game in that one. As far as I'm aware, I never really needed to use anything else. Because it's like, okay, you have your AK over there, you need to set up your interference, you need to set up all these damage bonuses, and set up all this other stuff, or you have this other card that does something like 60 damage per shot anyway, and fires multiple times, and you don't have to set up a dang thing, you can just use immediately, and it's also kind of cheap. It's like, so I'm just gonna go use that one. Why would I bother with anything else? But alright, try to finish off. Come on, 90%. Nice. Yeah, this is actually not bad so far. In theory, this is very doable. See, part of the thing is, for Phase 2, you can potentially be doing several hundred damage per round very quickly. And it kind of just becomes this weird game of managing your turn units or your cost units in very specific ways, which I'll try to explain when I get there, but normally you're just trying to like use a bunch of pistols and trying to take quick turns while resetting your turn to just fire these pistols over and over and over until you finally finish off with this gigantic flurry from a bunch of machine guns. And yeah, in theory, you do 3 to 350 per round if everything's set up properly, but realistically you kind of need 4 rounds to be able to finish it off, which is why you need 160 turn units, more or less. I'm going to keep calling them turn units. I know it calls it cost for this game. I've played too much TO to not call them turn units. Anyway. But yeah, more or less what you're waiting on is for him to just squat down and fire a giant laser beam. So you gotta have Venus off at an angle with an accuracy bonus to try to always make use of the flanking bonus to get a bunch of bonus damage until you're eventually, you know, doing like 20 plus damage with a machine gun. I think it's 38 max with the pistol per shot, so you can do quite a bit. It's just that it takes some setup, takes some luck. Honestly, it's kind of a miracle you can do it in any capacity here. Because none of this should theoretically be possible, but it's, again, almost exactly just enough. But the nice thing about how limited the decks are is that you almost always know that there's something good coming around the corner when you have a bunch of bad rolls. Like right here, I've gotten a bunch of really bad draws, but I know for a fact that there's some Makarovs coming, which will essentially be a guaranteed 100 damage. We're going to leave her right there. She's going to get hit. He's going to put down a trap right here. And then he's going to try to go and flank this thing to get it to turn around. That's what I haven't been making use of this time around. If you can get it to turn, you can get a bunch of bonus damage. If everything's ideal, you should get your cards right away, then he's off running interference. And yeah. If you're getting your flank damage, if you're getting your accuracy bonuses, if you're getting all that, you're going to be having a good time. Alright, I probably don't want to use that for movement. Let's use something cheaper. Alright. I'm not sure. Like right now, we've got the double damage bonus going on the rifle, so we're getting 15 on there. So yeah, this is pretty much the ideal setup. Just having 1 damage bonus in each direction is fine, but having both the Makarov and USP boosting the M4, it's gonna be pretty handy. I mean, at that point, you have 2 different... pretty much any weapon type you get, you can do 100 plus damage. And that's really what you want to be seeing. You want to be seeing all of his missiles going to areas where your trap isn't. You want to see your damage coming out pretty consistently. But then you occasionally get those wonderful moments where absolutely nothing will draw for extended periods of time, or he'll suddenly get to his last 30 health and you can't draw a friggin' like ammo card to save your life. Totally not grumpy about that ever happening. Yeah, it's very frustrating when that happens. Like I said before, there were multiple occasions where he had just 10 health left, and he would miss a 90% shot or something like that. Oh, that was the worst. I hate this boss so much. Now, you might say, wait a minute, that's a lot of griping about this game. Should I not play it? You should absolutely play this. If you're into strategy games, even if you're not into card games, this is such a cool game. Like, not only is it stylish and just very kinetic at all times, it just has this great energy about it. I mean, just look at how cool this is. Everything's cool about this. Even as something as mundane as just turn resetting is somewhat interesting, you know? All I'm doing right here is wasting cards, and it feels like I'm doing something. We're gonna have this guy put down a claymore for no reason. I'm probably gonna run into it myself. Actually, oh, crap. I just noticed something else. You know what? Self-destructing with claymores. That's a great way to get rid of cards. That would be a way faster way of doing this. Oh, shoot. We need... Okay, never mind. New potential optimization for this. Have Snake run up and repeatedly smack Venus with claymores in the face. A, knocks her backwards. B, causes her to lose cards every time that happens. This basically means that she doesn't have to discard and can attack that much faster. Man, you know what? This is why I love this game. This is why I freaking love this game. There's so many little things you can do to improve things. And yes, I know I constantly say that I hate optimizations, but dude, this feels so good. Alright. Let's just see what Phase 2 looks like. Friggin' Pepsi boss. Boom-de-boom-de-boom. And now you can't do any damage to him because his missile pods are gone. So that's 157 turn units left. And we're gonna go ahead and pretend to move. Just to have 2 slots open for next time, because you can only have a hand of 6 cards. So what you're hoping for is that he runs off to the side, kneels down, does the weird flashing maneuver like that. It does bug me so much that if you're playing this on a PSP, the crotch sticks out as being bright pink. I don't know why. Specifically at PS3 3000, I'm not sure what's different about it. I don't remember that on the Vita. I don't remember, and I'm not seeing that on emulator right now. But yeah, for some reason, bright pink crotch. Oh, yeah, nice. Anyway, that right there, that's the meta. Running into your own claymores is surprisingly, apparently going to be the meta here. That time when you employ haste through landmines. I suppose the one downside... Actually, it's not even a downside. If I set up the mine in a way where... okay, so here's the deal. You set up the accuracy trap, and then you set up a mine 2 tiles away from it. You have her run into the mine and get blown right back onto her accuracy tile. She's still on the accuracy tile, but she has gotten rid of a card, potentially at the cost of nothing. I believe it'll still use the movement cost and whatever else. I suppose technically if there's no accuracy tile deployed, then there's no need to even worry about that. Anyway, this is like the weird cost management shenanigans that I was talking about, because at the very end, if you hit triangle at any point, you can go and see how much they've got left. He's got 9 cost before he's going to move again. She's got 2, meaning she might be able to fire that pistol and take an extra turn. Maybe. And what you really want to do is just ammo dumping at this point. So there we go. Decent chunk of his health gone, and she is up to 4 cost. So we're just going to leave her right there. Hopefully she draws 2 cards. Come on. Well, it's something. It's going to cost a hell of a lot to fire. That's fine. We're at this point just going to use this one because she's already really high on cost. And okay, that did absolutely nothing for us. We can use this to reset that card for only 2. I'm going to move him 2 tiles closer so you can replace that accuracy tile. And so yeah, by the time the next turn rolls around, you want to have ideally done 300 plus, and you want to have an accuracy tile and 1 healing item for her ready to go. He's got healing items out the ears, it doesn't really matter. Like, I think he's got 1 extra ration or whatever else, but it doesn't matter because he can take a ton of punishment anyway. Even if he gets knocked out, it's not a huge deal. But I never thought about this Claymore approach before, so ideally you want to be doing that too. Now, when he sets up like this... Let's see. She can move over there on the left. What we want to do is something like this. We're going to go here. We're going to put down a claymore. See if this works right. She can't do damage right now, so we want to set up a situation where she uses this. It's a low-cost card. We use a low-cost card to move, because now that's gone down to 3. We move that here. And ideally this will get rid of that cost card she's about to use. Okay, so get knocked back. And yes, that got rid of the one on the left, so theoretically that should allow for getting rid of cards a little bit faster. As long as it's not an extra movement that's actually needed. I need to set it up in a way that it takes one extra tile there, or one less tile. Alright, we'll use the overclock here, we'll use the movement. I don't think we're going to be able to set up the flank. Now, flanking damage is weird on this one, because I feel like it only applies in some very specific circumstances. We're going to leave him right there. He needs a healing item, so we're going to draw for that next. Hopefully this thing will kneel down and fire. Yeah, there we go. So she's got 2 attack cards ready to go. He doesn't have an accuracy set up. Which kind of blows, but oh well. She's just going to do whatever she can, and hopefully get more of the pistols. Again, they do the majority of the damage here. They are just the best. Just like right here. Let's see, she's got 4 right now from that movement. This thing has 18. So we can get away with a couple of rounds here. Again, you really want to just save the rifles for the end, so this is going to put him down to 11. I'm going to put down the accuracy. Moving and shooting is oftentimes going to be better than anything else. Because you're essentially getting 1 less cost every time you take an action. So if you get a cheap movement, that's just going to be better. Alright. And as much as I just set up that accuracy tile, it doesn't make sense to run towards it right now. So she's got 4. Right now this thing is down to 11. Alright. And in case you're wondering, no, it absolutely doesn't work to go airstrike him in this phase either. Still doesn't work. Okay, so she's at 0 at the moment. It'll be 4 to reset her turn. What's this thing at? 7? Alright. So, if we move over here, we'll only be up to 5. She'll get 1 more round at boosted accuracy. We'll have him pretend to be useful, and somehow miss this gigantic thing. He's gonna get knocked out in a sec. That is unfortunate. I was really hoping to get more stuff out of that. That's fine. Do a bunch of damage there. Yeah, it's really just our setup. This second phase does not seem to actually take bonus damage. Still managed to miss 2 90% shots, because of course. Go ahead and use this on Snake, so maybe he survives. Alright. More than likely this one is scuffed now. Alright. Conveniently, though, got another trap. Nice. So this is going to be the final round that we can potentially do anything, more than likely. In theory, if he decides to kneel down and fire and we end up drawing multiple shooting cards and whatever else. Interesting, okay. That's the first time I've ever seen him do a quick shot of the crotch laser. Actually, that's the first time in over a week of trying to route this that I've ever seen the crotch laser utilized for anything. Bizarre. Anyway, I will move her forward 1 tile. If there's nothing in his targeting area, he's just going to give up. So you really just use this time to reset for as many shots as possible. And if you have an Olga card, that's actually pretty useful. We're going to go ahead and use this to maybe survive another round. It's potentially like a 14 cost turnaround for when it comes to his attacks. But, yeah. That move is how you end up underneath him if it's something that you want to do. But it's very specific to pull that off. Alright, if we can somehow get 2 rounds out of this, then it's still winnable, but this attempt was not very good. So we'll see. We'll see. Oh, and 34. Okay, this is gonna be a massive one. Okay, actually. Well, he did end up stomping away that tile. Alright. Go here. We'll use the pistols. Just got 1 turn left, so we use that for a speed shot here. Basically a turn resetter. So that'll leave him with 29. Okay, that's not bad at all. And that leaves her with 4. Okay. Is this seriously gonna... Really? You're gonna miss 5 shots right now. This is looking like the one, and you're gonna miss 5 shots in a row. Alright. If this happens now, it happens now. Right, this needs to draw a gun, or this is yet another one that's, like, failed right at the finish line. Oh my god, it's actually the frickin' one. There we go! How about that? So there you go. That is the one part of MGS2 that could have an issue with this kind of setup. And it's doable. How about that? I was kind of just hoping to show off the strategy, but screw it. Goodbye to that stupid boss. It is such a... I hate everything about that boss. Anyway, that's that. You guys have a good one. Yeah, if you've never tried MG Acid 2, like, this isn't even spoilers. This entire game is just hilarious. Honestly, just playing through it with different decks is, yeah, he managed to pull it off. See, this is accurate. It literally would have been impossible without her. Part of what I'm really curious about is whether this changes the ending. Because for those that never played this before, the very final boss basically tells you, hey, I've been observing you this whole time. I've specifically made a deck to counter you, and supposedly they do. Like in my particular case, they were just basically running around with near impossible turns, doing all kinds of crazy flank maneuvers and stuff. I'm curious, if you never update your deck a single time or do a single upgrade, what they actually end up doing. But yeah, there we go. So that's that. You guys have a good one. Take care, and